All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and non binaries. We salute you. Interplanetary, intergalactic time travelers. Wait, is that a thing? We salute you. I've been trying for an hour to get this thing rolling on StreamYard, and I'm sure it's the memory on my computer, but. And then my daughter said her computer's been glitchy all day. There is some solar flare activity. They're talking about a possible CME from a corner glance, but uh, if I was in the control tower, I wouldn't be sending out any red flag alerts. But you never know. I mean, these things can sneak up. So um, I did want to touch on a couple of things. It's kind of been burning on my mind. And then InfoWars triggered me again today because of just nonsense being sprayed over there about cannabis. And it's just really, really unfortunate when people you look up to and admire to get your news, to counter the CIA narratives and all these different things, to have them parrot the same type of bullshit studies and propaganda from mainstream media talking about cannabis somehow is going to make you drop dead from a cardiac arrest. Somehow you're going to get strokes from cannabis that's relaxing you. And then to conflate the two with cannabis with all other drugs, including alcohol, which is by far what more people are drinking excessively, way too much, and destroys the body in record time. But then to conflate the two with tobacco, right? And then to say, so last month we went through a story about how the cannabis can cause psychiatric schizophrenia, violent type of reefer madness. Oh my God. And then you're going to kill your roommates, kill your cherished Siberian husky, like we saw with a lady who killed a lover. I don't know if he was living there or they were banging apparently. And the whole story just reeks. She got off saying that she was, well, more ways than one apparently, saying that it was the cannabis. She didn't know the cannabis was going to be strong. Down in California? You don't know how strong cannabis is in California? Okay, little psycho lady, with your pre existing conditions like, more issues than a National Geographic going back to the 1940s. But okay, little honey biscuit. All right, you don't know. And then you don't have any pre existing conditions. So she gets off on this. Can you imagine the family of the dude that got knifed 100 times? Did I mention that she used a knife and stabbed the bro, including her dog? It was her dog, not his. FYI, 100 times. So we debunked that piece of donkey manure. And now we're going to go through real quick on this heart because the American Journal of Heart Association has this issue here. So I'm kind of torn between should I start with the Junker article or go into exactly who one of this key players this dirtbag is that's sponsoring this, who has connections to who? WHO, the World Health Organization. Well, how appropriate. How appropriate. We're in heart attack seasons now. We have children, teens dropping dead all over the world, all over the country, which we've never happened before. What therapeutic happened since then? Pew, pew, pew. No mention of that in the American Heart Journal. No mention of that anywhere in. Factor in obesity. They factored in other, I think, alcohol use and demographics. They targeted in on men. They gave women saying that somehow estrogen made them more resilient to the cannabis, which I've never heard in my life. So the women they factored in were 65 and the men were 55 because of this estrogen factor. But anyway, let me show you here what, if you can read that. I know that's always kind of tough on this one, but so there's a video there where I've got muted. There's new evidence to help clear the air on cannabis. Oh, no pun intended. Study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association and funded by the National Institutes of Health. They left out the WHO there, didn't they? Yeah, I'm going to show you firsthand directly from the study, the WHO connection. We know that toxins are released. Here's a quote from Abra Jeffries, data analyst, Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. We know that the toxins are released when cannabis is burned, similar to those found in tobacco smoke. I'll repeat that for you because it's insane and it deserves repeating. We know that toxins, what toxins? What toxins in cannabis? What are you talking about? We know that the toxins are released when cannabis is burned, similar to those found in tobacco smoke. So you have this massive unscientific conflation of the hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000 different addictive chemicals. That's what's really killing you in tobacco smoke. None of that exists in cannabis. None of that exists in cannabis. They don't do any additives. It's a flower in cannabis. There's no flower there in tobacco. They're using the leaves, but it's the processing. Tobacco's been used by indigenous cultures tens of thousands of years, just like cannabis. But the difference is tobacco, they put all these addictive chemicals into it, so you become addicted to those things that cause cancer, causes stroke, causes heart attack, and cause all kinds of shit. It's going to fuck you up. It's the chemicals. Okay. If you use the study with tobacco without those hundreds and hundreds of chemicals, you're going to have a lot of extra different data. So they go through, it's just pure junk science. We've known for a long time that smoking tobacco is linked to heart disease, and this study is evidence that smoking cannabis appears, quote unquote, appears to almost be a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death in the United States, right? Again, no mention of new experimental therapeutics, no mention of those mandates that happened in 2021, nothing. No, this is more about now we have heart attack seasons. So this is the New York Post, but they're just spewing the same type of gibberish as the article. So let me double check, make sure that it's gone full screen. So here's the study. And we look here and we see on the study Stanton Glantz. So we got Abra Jeffries, Stanton Glantz, Amy Byers, and Salome Kahani, right? Salome, hey. So we go down to the bottom here. This is the full study. They go through all the different risk factors and methods and measures. Look through it, please. It's in the link. Here's your demographics, races, college education, as if college education affects your heart. Yep, it's in the study. You can't miss that part. And then it continues on here. Now, granted, it's talking about different ages. So now all of a sudden, teens, which have never dropped dead from heart attacks from cannabis ever in recorded history for hundreds of years of recorded data, never had teens drop dead from heart attacks. Very rare. They certainly hadn't been smoking a blunt and then grabbed their heart and dropped dead on the basketball court. Never, ever happened. Well, it does now. Now we have heart attack seasons, and the teens have heart attack seasons. Okay? So I'm still going through. There's all this data here. I'm going through because I just want to connect one very crucial key bit of information. And there's a couple of things on here that I should have highlighted better. Multiple studies have examined reasons for cannabis use, which include chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety. That's exactly right. We're talking about a medicinal herb and a medicinal plant that is not addictive in the sense of opiates. That's chronic pain, people that are having chronic pain. Insomnia, wonderful. There is not narcotics. There is heavy narcotics used for the pain, but there's all kinds of heavy drugs they use for sleep issues. And then there's all kinds of different issues they use for anxiety. It's a major leading reason why people drink too much excessively is their anxieties are melted away after a couple of drinks, if not the first one. Coronary heart disease, MI, that's myoinfraction, that's the swelling, I believe, of the heart, and stroke are not reported as reasons for cannabis use. Nevertheless, there is an urgent need for prospective cohort studies that examines the association of cannabis use and cardiovascular outcomes. So they admit it right there in their study, which all the mainstream media sure is missing that one. InfoWars sure missed that one. Joe Rogan missed that one. All these brilliant, so-called brilliant minds, right? They're super brilliant. Can't even read the study and can't even see that it disputes itself in its own print. Super smart, guys. Super smart. Great way to spew a bunch of false CIA disinformation to millions of your platform and millions of your followers. That's not the critical. There's conclusions here. Those are Dr. Glantz. Here's a disclosure. Dr. Glantz serves as a consultant to the World Health Organization outside the submitted work. The remaining authors have no disclosures to report. So that doesn't mean that they don't have conflicts. That just means that they're not going to tell you. We have right here Dr. Glantz in the study from the American Heart Journal with the biggest chunk of donkey manure junk science trying to conflate cannabis with other drugs, cannabis with tobacco, and cannabis somehow restricting your blood flow. Doesn't do anything like that. Now, nicotine does restrict your blood flow. That's a part of why you feel lightheaded and why you feel like many people who just begin to smoke feel sick, feel lightheaded, and have to lay down, and sometimes they puke. Doesn't happen with cannabis. Very, very rare. You might take a nap if you take too much, but, and InfoWars, AJ, Alex Jones is talking about all these schizophrenic episodes that he has, and he can't get out of his chair, and he was stuck. He almost pissed his pants with Joe Rogan because he couldn't get up to go to the bathroom and take a piss because he ate a cookie. He ate his little cookie. Okay. So we have all of this junk. It's junk. Myocardial infarction. I always call it infraction. So you got obesity. That's going to cause some strokes, don't you think? The diabetes, that may cause some strokes, don't you think? Physical activity. Are you moving around? Are you even taking a walk, or are you not? That's going to possibly affect some stuff. You've got your alcohol here factored into this study. No mention of that from mainstream media. They're not talking about the alcohol. They sure got about 5-6 different rows there of your education, right? How much education does a teen have that's dropping dead on the courts? And what could possibly be happening that's never happened before from cannabis? What could possibly be happening? What new therapeutic's been introduced into the population? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? That's right. We had a new therapeutic introduced into the population, mandated on the school children, wasn't it? Yeah, it sure was. We're on YouTube here, so I got to talk about meatballs, right? Association of cannabis use with cardiovascular outcomes among U.S. adults. Stanton Glantz. Well, who's Stanton Glantz? Apparently, he's a repeat offender of making shit up. Okay, here's his Wikipedia. Making shit up and sexually harassing the women, the medical ladies around him. Okay, so, and I think that said right here, he describes himself as the Ralph Nader of the anti-tobacco movement. Oh, what? That's douchey right there. I mean, that gives you the douchey word right away. Right at the top, in 2017, Glantz was sued by a former postdoctoral researcher for alleged sexual harassment and retaliation, while UCSF, California, San Francisco, internally found that Glantz had more than likely not engaged in harassment and had violated the faculty code of conduct. Glantz and UCSF publicly denied the allegations, of course, and settled the lawsuit for $150,000. In 2018, a second former employee sued Glantz for sexual harassment. Glantz and UCSF denied these allegations as well. So you have a World Health Organization who's made up the shit that now there is a heart attack season, right? You have the same dipshit connected there. He's consulting them. It said it right in the study I showed you with your own damn eyes. Okay. Let me double check here, make sure all that's. Oh yeah, see it won't flip. This new software, I have to remember to click this. So that there. So through that whole thing, I'm sorry about that. That whole thing I was reading was his Wikipedia here, and I was going through and showing you all that data. This link is in the show notes. Everything I just said is right there in front, right here at the top. In 2017, Glantz was sued. So we have a repeat sexual harasser, which you know what they say about sexual harassers. These guys are the ones that actually sexually assault. And there probably is some of that somewhere there that he's paid out privately in white envelopes, right? So to really ice off the caking, and shame on you guys. Shame on you, Alex Jones. You know better than this. How pathetic, dude. Your team didn't even do the basic research on this guy, and you're spewing all that crap you just said today about cannabis. Shame on you. Shame on Joe Rogan if he didn't do it either. Okay, so here's USA Today from 4 years ago. So this is 2020. A study claiming vaping doubles. Let me make sure I got all the bells and whistles clicked. Yes, that looks like you're seeing it. Man, new software makes me feel like a dipshit. I hate that. Hate that feeling. A study claimed vaping doubles risk for heart attacks. It's been retracted. Oh boy, it's been retracted for being unreliable. Oh boy. And who had their fingers in that one? You bet. Stanton Glantz. The retracted study by researcher, now he's a researcher, but he's got nothing but bullshit. Stanton Glantz was paid for primarily by 2 federal grants. So he's milking the cash cow, just making shit up. This one, he targets vape pens. Questions were raised after another researcher concluded the majority of the heart attacks happened before people vaped. That's right. Let's read it again. Questions were raised after another researcher concluded that Stanton Glantz, the dipshit bullshitter, left out that majority of the heart attacks happened before people ever vaped. But here's Glantz, the guy that hates tobacco, the guy that's making shit up, including studies and calling it research, attacking tobacco. Now, the chemicals in tobacco is no doubt those are killers. It's the same thing in your diet sodas. If you don't have a clue what aspartame is, it killed all the lab mice and lab rats who drank it in high amounts. But the FDA thinks aspartame's good for you. Good for you. Had to quit drinking my cherry Pepsi from that shit. The retracted study by the University of California in San Francisco, this is his little homeland, medical school professor, right? The professor that can't get any fucking data straight and make shit up. The professor, Stanton Glantz, and published in Journal of American Heart Association, said vaping doubled the risk of heart attacks. It was paid for primarily by the second of 2 $20 million grants awarded to Glantz. That's a pretty nice paycheck for the bullshitter and Chief Meister, right? In 2018 from the National Institutes of Health and the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA, the same people that are leaving aspartame, which is a known killer of all mice and rats in the laboratory in high doses, they left that in your food supply, but they gave this guy this kind of money to make shit up saying that vaping of pure nicotine, which vaping is a nicotine salt. It doesn't have hundreds and hundreds of other chemicals. That's the process that big tobacco did to get you hooked on it in the leaves with the raw cigarettes. Nicotine vaping is a totally different pure salt. That's why you have researchers and people like myself who are not a scientist but have done my own research. That's why they're telling you vaping is safer. Regardless, any substance you're putting in high doses, that's the other thing that they leave out. That's the other huge thing that they leave out is they're talking about, they're conflating not only the other drugs and the alcohol. Alcohol is a known fucking killer, please. And opiates will kill you in months. Meth, you'll lose all your teeth within 6 months. All of that's left out. None of that happens with cannabis. People that smoke 50 years, it doesn't do any of that shit. Tobacco, with those chemicals, will create, there's tar. There's tars in that. That's why the vape pens, just like with the vape of tobacco, nicotine salts, they will take out those tar and greatly reduce it. But the key thing that I got sidetracked there was the dosage. The dosage. The chemicals in the nicotine make people chain smoke. I should know. I smoked for 20 years. I stopped when my daughter was born. Didn't want any secondhand smoke around her. Occasionally I did smoke cigars. I'd go in the back garage, try to get away from her. And I do the same thing. I'll go downstairs. She's nowhere near me, hopefully. Sometimes for walks, I'll smoke a little cigar and she might be, 20 steps ahead of me. I don't think it's affecting her, but point is that I used to smoke American spirits. We used to be able to just smoke in the bar. You have your whiskey and you'd be able to chain smoke, and everyone did it. And the non-smokers would go into a bar like that, and it was like a fog machine. But it wasn't a fog machine. It was a tobacco cigarette machine going on. It had to affect people. I'm not going to dispute that. Those chemicals with that fog machine of a bar environment could not have been good for us, okay? But those chemicals are what you just keep smoking them one after another. You'll notice heavy smokers, they never stop. There's always something lit. That's not the case with cannabis. That's not the case in an effective scientific study, which they did not do there because you got Glantz in on the project trying to skew the data because he's got $20 million to skew the data. Because WHO is looking for other scapegoats to blame teens dropping dead all over the world. 30 million people have died from the pew, 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 the Jabarooskis. Now, that data is disputed. I'm not trying to get the video pulled. There's no reason to say I'm giving any fake data. Talk to your own doctors. Read your own medical advice. God almighty, please read your own data. Read your own advice. Is that what I said? My God. Well, try to branch out of reading your own advice if you can. But read the data from all these different sides, just like I just showed you. That big long thing is full, and they even post in the journal that was just released. I think it was yesterday. There's been another one a few months ago. And granted, last month they were trying to say it created reefer mania where women stab their lovers and their favorite Siberian hundreds of times. Does not happen like that. That's not what cannabis does. It doesn't create heart attacks where you clutch over and die as a teen on a basketball court. Just think about all of the athletes that consume cannabis that we're aware of. They're not dead. They're not having heart attack problems. They're not having all these issues that we're seeing today. So why would this known player who's now consulting being paid, they didn't say how much he's getting paid from WHO. You can damn well bet there's no shortage of funding with the globalists in the WHO. Paid him good is what I'm trying to say. I can only imagine. Maybe he's just consulting for free and he gets all these bennies. I don't know. What do I know? You look into it. I don't know. But that is just absolutely infuriating to hear another round come out of InfoWars talking about he's got a bunch of crazy co-workers and a bunch of his crew. He's always talking about how great his crew is. Now he's talking about everyone's batshit crazy on the set. And he's had people that had schizophrenic episodes from smoking too much cannabis where they thought the other anchors were lizard people. Well, bro, your BFF, David Icke, openly writes books and volumes of research about these lizard people. But now you're going to say your crew's schizophrenic and went insane from smoking cannabis because they thought somebody was a lizard dude on the set. I've seen some of the people you bring on the set there, boss. They probably have some lizard blood in them. Cut me out. So I don't know if if it's going to be able to recoup off of that or not. It did last time that it cut me down like that, but and that was my browser crash because I have so many windows open. So on YouTube, if not, it is what it is. It says it's running 28 minutes. So just to recoup there, recouping and recapping. So InfoWars, Alex Jones comes out again today with another round of cannabis is from George Soros. The legalization's from George Soros. It's made his staff go insane. It made his ex-wife go nuts. Everyone around him is probably worried that his 21-year-old son is losing it because of cannabis. I'm speculating with all of that. But except for the fact that what he said today, if you go listen to his own words in it, it's just really unfortunate when I hear people buying into that. He mentioned the journal I just broke down, the American Heart Journal. He didn't do any deep dive. None of his staff, who apparently everyone's Cheech and Chonging it out down there at the InfoWars headquarters. Great. I love it. I'm an advocate. Don't come at us with a bunch of false data and CIA talking points. Now, I'm sorry you've got some batshit crazy people on the job site. You know what, bro? There's batshit crazy on every fucking job site, and they're stone cold sober. They're not smoking cannabis. So, and that's the reality check of the mental illness crisis we have in this country. Cannabis is the least of triggering mental health issues. And it certainly does not constrict, as that study is doing, constricting the blood vessels that would create a stroke. That's blood flow to the brain. Cannabinoids, they coat cells. They coat them. That's why it doesn't attack the liver. That's why cannabis doesn't attack the kidneys. That's why cannabis doesn't attack the heart. That's why cannabis doesn't attack the brain. I have to say this over and over again because you dipshits who call yourselves truthers with millions of people tuning into you on your platform are spewing goobly gook about cannabis and cannabinoids, claiming it's the same damage as it. Not only you're taking it further, you're now siding with people that say your staff has gone schizophrenic because of the high quality of cannabinoids they're smoking. Bro, do not appreciate that kind of disinformation. Total bullshit. You should know better. Joe Rogan should know better. Tucker Carlson should know better. It looks like to me he could use a little more cannabis in his diet. But I could ramble on a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure how long it's even going to let me go here. Maybe it's better because I'm already at 31 minutes. Maybe just to cut it at cannabis. I did want to talk about a couple of other things because there was some other current events, and I did put that in the current. Yeah, it's still up there. No, I'll walk through it. I mean, what the hell? It would be good to do a cut. If I had a professional team, I'd be like, I do what AJ does with this hand motion, and he cuts. He does these different hand signals, and they'll stop and do a marker, and they'll pull those pieces out. What a great operation. You know, with me being as critical I am today, it's really going to hurt me if I can't tune in on your show and listen to you. And it really sounds like you've given up. Yeah, Big Mama says knock you out. I love that speech. I've got a pretty dominating mother too. We haven't been talking for a couple of years because there's narcissism that's on her part. In fact, my sister's as well. But I don't want to get into my family. I'm just saying, I identified with you talking about your dominating matriarch and your mother who about every 10 years makes these life changing decisions or consults you. I don't want to make it look like you're a mama's boy and a pussy, but because you're obviously not. You're very independent and you need that female energy in your life. We all do. I do too. Any alpha male needs that. We need that consultation because we're so damn strong in the tsunami of being that type of an alpha male thinker. And sometimes we don't have a lot of money. Sometimes, like you guys, you've had millions a good chunk of your life. Doesn't mean that we're not both alpha male thinkers, if you will. It just means you're smoking dirt weed and you believe that your staff has lost their mind on some sort of reefer madness cannabinoid episode. It's just not true, bro. So I just broke that down. I just gave, I'm not saying that's the only reason why the WHO stooge who's had other research that he's made tens of millions of dollars pulled and yanked, discredited. It's the same guy who's been sexually harassing, probably any scientific lady that's come within finger grabbing in his distance. And these aren't my allegations. These are the allegations on his wiki page. These are the allegations on the hundreds of thousands of dollars they've had to pay the women who he has sexually abused. It's not my allegations. It's his wiki page. And shame on you guys for not doing the basic research. You're standing with a known bullshitter, fabricator, con man who's probably a rapist, at the very least a sexual assaulter, and went to Stanford. Anybody know what they do at Stanford? Yeah, that's what the CIA and all the U.S. intels, that's where the spooks like to go and train the generation of spooks. Stanford. That's his department. Or that's his alumni. I don't even know if it's alumni. Those are his people. Those are his people. And the guy deserves to have his ass shredded and handed to him like I just did, with factual scientific data that he can't pull out of his bungholio to do a well-documented American Heart Journal and research paper, because previous years, the shit that he regurgitated out like a cat in a hairball had to all be removed because he left out that one little piece that the heart attacks happen before they ever sucked on a vape pen of nicotine. What a little critical part of scientific data to leave out, huh? What does it matter when you got $20 million coming from the FDA that's poisoning you with aspartame? But oh no, not cannabis. Oh God, don't you do an organic herb. Oh, don't you dare think about organic herbs. Oh no. Aspartame? Oh, you could drink a lot of aspartame. It makes you strong. Wow. Follow me? Did I make my point? How many times do I got to repeat that before I hammer it into your little noodles? Do not fall into CIA talking points. Be very smart about that. Be smarter than you are, because we're totally under attack. The cannabis, and I don't even really want to get into my personal life. I'm not a heavy user anymore. I'm not. There's a number of reasons, and I transitioned years ago from flower into vape. Vape is subtle. I can anywhere I'm walking, to the market, wherever I'm doing, it's subtle. I don't have to have a huge stinky dog of Cheech and Chong where it is. I don't do it at all anymore. I don't do flowers at all anymore. And the whole percentage thing, we've always had hashish. There's always been super duper good buds. You guys just didn't have it in Texas. You guys, most of the country didn't have what we had and what we were growing here in Oregon. It's our number one cash crop for decades. Cannabis. That's what we did. That's what we do. That's what we know. Legalization, decriminalization has changed that. But we have labs. It's required here. You have a lab that needs to test what's in it, a lab that needs to tell you what is it indica, is it sativa, what's the terpenes, that's the flavors, what kind of terpenes are in that. All of that is on the back of the label. Is there mold in it? Is there fertilizers? None of that shit can be there. If it's going to go retail, now it could go on the black market, and there is people that are going to fucking do that. We got cholos in the woods growing guerrilla farming, growing the dope with all kinds of chemicals. We don't know. I don't like that either. I'd like to kick their ass one way or another. They need to be booted from the state. I'm not a prohibitionist, but who's going to do that? You want to have renegades do it? Okay. Renegades need to be there and doing that. We don't want guerrilla farmers sucking our water and taking products down and just doing shady, fucked up shit. All right? We're tired of shady, fucked up shit from people that don't give a fuck about our community. You can call them whatever you want. We can debate semantics and names, and we've got to call them the new professor. We'll call them new to be professors. That's what we'll call them. Okay. The other thing that really pissed me off, since I think it's still rolling, I don't know if I'm still on YouTube or not, because of that chop. I lost the driver and it chopped. I don't know if it actually really put me all back together. But because I can see right here, the presentation that I was doing is gone with the Wikipedias and stuff. All those links should be on this YouTube, if YouTube's going to keep it up. The COVID statement about vaccines from Donald J. Trump was devastating to hear this language coming back. I see it's flashing like blue, red. I think it's this, the lighting. I thought we'd moved on from that. We have to move on from that. We're losing independence. We're not going to change the Democrats' minds. They're giving Biden credit for whatever the fuck they think they want to give him credit for. Okay. I can't say the truth because I'm on YouTube. I can't even get into it and talk about it. But stop. Full stop. Sir, Teen, Donnie Jr., anybody and everyone that can get close to him. Laura, anybody and everyone that can get close to him, stop. Stop talking about it. There was side effects that far outweighed. It was created with patents years ago, years before 2019, years before Donnie even was talking about going into the White House, at least again and seriously, because he was talking about it a long time ago. That has to stop. And Alex Jones was spot fucking on calling him out on that. I mean, he literally was saying, I'm going to come for you. Not only am I not going to vote for you, Trump, but who are you going to vote for? And then what are you going to do? You're now going to be working countermeasures for the Democrats to get Biden in there as you come out railing against Trump because he's been told that he created some new thing. Now, one of the things, the monoclonal antibodies. Again, I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor. I've seen that there's a lot of poo-pooing of them. People saying that they didn't work and it was all bullshit and all that. That's not what the data was saying at the time. And when Governor Ron DeSantis was using them monoclonal antibodies in Florida, the results in the data was astoundingly good. It was good. I was going to say, well-being. And so I guess you could say that data is all in error and it's a bunch of bullshit, but I'm not. I think monoclonal antibodies helped. And it seemed obvious to me at the time it was far better than gene therapy, which didn't even have the corona variant in it, which is what first came out. Again, not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. There's nothing dangerous about this. YouTube, my handlers do not need to pull this because I'm not doing anything scary. I'm not talking about anything scary. I just wanted to mention that I did not agree with President Donald J. Trump's statements regarding it. And I'm just simply saying, and I don't think there's any reason to pull the video because of it, stop talking about it. The campaign, please stop talking about it. You're going to lose people who have had adverse reactions or are convinced one way or another. And to hear these type of things, it discredits the whole campaign. It jeopardizes the entire 4 years of the administration and anybody that could follow it. Because if it's done properly, if Don Jr. is who I'm thinking about, if it's done properly with Senior, the Orange Jesus himself, God bless him, Santa Maria follow. If it's done properly, there could be another administration connected. Just saying that. It really is, it's alarming because we know we've been threatened, we've been told over and over again there's going to be a future pandemic. There's more of these things coming and they're going to be worse. Bill Gates have said this. The lead guy, the cholera king, who lots of his people in Ethiopia, he called cholera loose stool. Not good. That guy's telling us he's got more goodies coming for us. Pompeo, what the hell is that? Let's just hope that that's a CIA trick, just like having Nikki Haley being a serious potential VP consideration, which turns out was never a part of the plan, was all bullshit, was a part of her CIA friends. Well, Pompeo ran the fucking CIA. That's the last thing you want to do is start sending signals like that, like Pompeo could be lurking somewhere, or John Bolton, or even a Nikki Haley's on a short list. Stop. Full stop. It's not uniting the Republicans. It's not uniting the country. If anything, it's going to implode the campaign that you're leading by at this point. Now, finally, maybe finally, I wanted to touch on Katie Britt. Now, I've never heard of Katie Britt. Katie Britt was the GOP's response to the State of the Union, and I've seen her name and the video clips percolate. It took me a couple of days, and I think I finally watched it Saturday. She did an hour, and then I've watched a couple of other clips since then, but not the full hour like I did. Right out of the bat, I like her now. Beautiful green dress. I love greens. I've seen a lot of green. I don't know if that's a spring thing or there must be some like millionaire designer who's pushing these greens. Now, the canary yellow I see all over the place is horrible. It looks never, ever, ever, ever wear canary yellow dresses. Ever. I'm sorry. Forget it. It's ever. But the greens are beautiful. And Katie Britt, I hope I got that name right, from Alabama, senator from Alabama, looked beautiful. She is adorable. And that speaks volumes. Now, my original, when I was watching it was Saturday night. I was like, well, why is she? I said something to my daughter, like, why is she talking down like people are children? Like she felt like a third grader, like when I was talking with Raquel's teachers, in elementary school. That's my daughter. She had that feel to her, like they talked down, like we know what's best for your child and we're the specialists in this and you don't have a fucking clue and go take it to the principal, you dirtbag, this kind of a thing, right? But then I thought, well, that's perfect because she's breaking it down into 2 + 2 = 4. And she's talking directly to the haters, including the Democrats. They're the ones that have been railing on her for the last 4 or 5 days. It was all weekend long. All weekend long they gave her hell. And I like people when they get hell. When people are starting to get harassed, especially from my enemies, they become my friends because they are friends of my enemies. See? That's not a new thing. I didn't make that up. It's been around forever. And she also said, very practical. I love the kitchen. I'm a chef. What do you call that when I'm not paid to cook? Personal chef. I am actually. Anybody that's around me, I personally cook for them. But I'm an unprofessional chef. Is that what that is? Because no one's paying me. Although I have had paying contracts, but Jesus. The point is coming back. The point is that is exactly where the discussions happen. That's where the livelihood happens. That's where an open kitchen format. It's absolutely brilliant. It has nothing to do with women should be in the kitchen. She's an alpha leader herself, being nominated, politicized, or a politician, a politico. It's just so bizarre, the politics today, what people will attack other people, especially other women, right? It's savages, just savages. Neoliberal women are the nastiest people I've ever had to battle in my life. And I'm from Portland, Oregon. I've been battling nasty neoliberal women who are just, my whole life. I'm 51, going on 52. And I know nasty neoliberal women, and it's disgusting. There's nothing worse. They're far worse than any dude of any kind. So I didn't have any clips of her or anything about it, but I just wanted to say that I support her. I like that. That is the outreach that needs to be done. Alabama's got the huge lawsuit and the stoppage, and all these wealthy women that have been spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with trying to get a test tube baby, get knocked up, get pregnant, and have a baby, and they got that right to do it. Although you realize that that's only wealthy people that have that crisis, right? Because the plan from everyone else, including all the Democrats, everywhere else around the country is kill the babies, terminate the babies. It's eugenics. We got population control, except for people like Elon Musk, who says have more babies. I mean, that guy's got, anybody should know he's got hundreds of children all over the world. Anybody should take advice on parenting. It should be Elon Musk. And he's saying, we're going to have a crash. Look at Japan. Look at Japan now. Too many elderly, not enough young taking care of them. There's too many men. Just same problem with China. Look at China now. You've got all these men that don't have enough honeys. And I got honeys. Who knows what they're real or whatever, but I've got Chinese and from Singapore, Japanese women all up in my DM all the time wanting to talk Ethereum, and they're probably just trying to hustle me. But one of the things that they say over and over again is, I don't trust Chinese men. Now, that's a major stereotype. These are coming from Chinese ladies. And many of them have, I don't want to say that there's Chinese mafia, well, there is that, but I'm not saying they're all survivors, but they've all got like this violent, horrific, he's cheating on me, he's a gambler, he's drinking too much, and oh my God. And it's like, okay, well, there's plenty of those dudes all over America. I wish you the best, sweetie. It's not just the Chi-Coms, but you know what I mean. I digress on that branch. The point was, and I don't get lost on what I said, is that there is a major generational crisis that's happening of demographics. And we've already seen it. They're already experiencing it. It's not too many children. It's not enough of pairs to create more children. That's what we need for civilization, contrary to what the globalists and the wealthy want you to think. So here they are going to spend $300 million for Ukraine. The number one pressing crisis of our time is World War IV. Okay. I think it's 4. I think 3's already happened. We had 20 years there where it was a world stage. Everyone, and all of their military mercenaries just creating shit out of creating names in arming organizations out of fucking the sand. They were all there, all the proxies. That's a world war in my book. Not a historian. We'll see how it plays out. But this World War IV going hot is totally avoidable, and it's shameful and pitiful that we haven't had solid, strong, diplomatic thinking alpha people, alpha women and alpha men saying peace. Peace is how we resolve the conflicts, not from turning sand into glass. That's not the way we're going to do it. That's going to destroy the food supply lines. That's going to destroy the fucking planet completely. So what kind of sociopath is planning that and thinking that? That's what these guys are doing. Whether it's WHO, or WEF, all these players, they're right in our faces. They're telling us you're going to be eating bugs. What kind of sociopath keeps telling you you're going to be angry and have to eat bugs? Those aren't my people. Those aren't my friends. And they're not your friends either. Even if you somehow think depopulation is the plan, it breaks my heart to see that son of a bitch, Jake Sullivan, talking about funneling money into more Nazis. I mean, we have a country that's so confused that the Democrats, 50 million of them, whatever the number is, 50 million are standing with Nazis, literally Azov Battalion, Ukraine Nazis, and think this is a war that we should spend more hundreds of billions of dollars. We could have housed everybody in America. We could have welcomed and housed all the immigrants that you wanted to shuffle in here. And then some from that kind of money. But instead, you want to arm Nazis in a Slavic civil war and piss it all away into oligarch corruption. This is half the country, half of the voting age, 50 million Democrats. I don't know exactly how it all breaks down. That will never make sense to me. It's the exact opposite of what we need to be thinking about and praying about and puffing about. Because I can tell you right now, out of all the chemicals and all the substances that are killing 200,000 people a year, cannabis is not one of them. Cannabis is not one of them. Cannabis isn't going to kill you. It isn't going to overdose you. You'll take a nap and maybe sometimes for a day. If you've had way too much, it's not going to kill you. It coats cells. It coats the outside. Neurologically, that's what helps alleviate anxiety. And people that say, "Oh man, we got all this," like AJ today, we got half the country are drunks. We got 25% are addicted to opiates. We got oh man, everyone's gonna fucking die on the drugs. Can't do that, man. You guys can't do that. You can't have the kids smoking cannabis. That's what he said today. Maybe not quite like that, but pretty damn close. And let me counter it with everyone is going to self-medicate on one thing or another. Many people do not have health insurance and can't afford it. That Obamacare has left millions of people there. They need to pay rent or their car insurance or the food prices, the inflation. Insurance is the first to go. They're not taking care of themselves in the way that they should be through prescription drugs and through blood work. Blood work is so important. Saved my life. Saved my life. I came up a naturopath, but who's also a medical doctor, but found hemochromatosis, an iron overload. Guess what? It's affecting 1 out of every 5 middle-aged white guys in the country. Hemochromatosis, iron overload. And it was affecting my organs, my thyroid enzymes had spiked. That's a part of why I put on so much weight the last couple of years, and I can't get it off. But I am. It's just taking a lot longer than it normally would. And it needs to come off. I do need to lose some weight, but the point is it attacked my liver, attacked my kidneys. These are the iron crystals. And there's these pyrophosphate calcium crystals, which is the same type of crystallization that will blow up my foot or blow up my knee. Guess what? It's blowing up your knees. It's blowing up your feet with pain. And these severe arthritic type of episodes could very well be this associated with hemochromatosis, the iron overload, these pyrophosphate crystals. And when those come off, it feels like an explosion in with heat in the joints. It creates this chemical reaction. Blood work saved my life. It certainly turned it around from the physical hell and the pain. But I was self-medicating with cannabis and with drinks, not even knowing why my body was hurting and why it was so painful to even exist, to walk. I had no idea. I mean, you don't expect that at 35. You don't expect that at 40. You don't expect it at 50. But at 35, I was going through that. It also was having petite seizures, and I was actually having grand mal seizures, which I slept through them. It was my special lady friends that calling ambulances and waking up thinking I was dead, like dead, or almost dead, dying. So, but I got off on that rant because people are going to self-medicate. And whether it's alcohol, which is most socially acceptable, it's one of the cheaper ones. But now we've got things like fentanyl, and they're smoking them in combination that they may not even know that they're getting combinations. I mean, once you get strung out, you don't you're doing things, you're taking risks, and you're doing behavior that you wouldn't normally think of yourself doing. And that includes other drugs. You're like, oh, okay, I'll try some of that. Or you don't even know. You're smoking, you're smoking this off of a foil. God, people, please, Jesus, Lord have mercy. Smoking these drugs that are totally packed and laced full of crap. So there's the 1 hour with 4 zeros. It's a good place to stop. Not all drugs are the same. Cannabis is not all drugs. And yes, there is higher potencies than others, than the dirt weed that you probably were smoking when you were young, and to what they're doing now. But we always had the good stuff. Even in the 80s, we had high level ganja. I was growing it, and there was always kefir hash, scissor hashes, where when you cut plants, you get all this. It's literally a hashish, but it's technically it's the resin from the flowers. When you know how to grow a plant that will produce a bud, will produce a flower, that's half your battle. Most people have no idea how to do that. Then in Oregon, we got labs that we test it. And that's what needs to happen in Texas when they do full legalization. And the other 20 states, or it might even be 25 states with medicinal, I think it's up there, pretty close to that. About half the country's got at least medicinal. And then, of course, West Coast and Colorado, and we've got full recreational now. We had to fight it, but we got that now. So anyway, that's where that's at. God bless you guys. I know there's big changes happening, and we don't fear the big changes, but a lot of people are going to have a lot of problems with the big changes, and they're going to self-medicate. Cannabis is going to save lives. Fentanyl kills 200,000 people plus every year, 20,000 a month from just the fentanyl overdoses. You got all the other overdoses. We're not even talking about heroin anymore. It's possible that fentanyl replaced heroin, but I'm sure it's still out there with some of the old timers. I don't know. Thank God I got nothing to do with any of that shit. But peace out. God bless. Talk to you soon.